it has been brought to our attention that you are a national security threat. We've been working on this top secret tool, the TikTok API. We ran a little TikTok API video list check and grabbed all of your developers' videos. Turns out that this video from a few years ago was flagged as a national security threat. Ringing any bells? Here at the video right here. See here, you create a bunch of rubber ducks, clone your little army like some Agent Smith from the Matrix, and at the end of the video, you turn your own developer into a rubber duck. Pop! Now, until we get some answers around here, it's simple. You don't get to get out of here, you don't get to swim in any water, you don't get your own developer, you're stuck. All you gotta do is give us some answers. How big is your little clone army? Where are you guys hiding out? How many developers have you cloned? What is your plan? Wait a second. No. You're not trying to turn me into a rubber duck right now, are you? I'm a federal agent. You'll never get out of here. What's up everyone, and welcome to another video. Before we hit the computer and start coding, hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like if you're enjoying the content, and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see coded up next. In this video, we are using the TikTok API to get the videos that a user has published on their profile. They will give us back the fields that we request. Now the fields are things like the video ID, video title, the video description, comment count, like count, share count, view count, and a lot more fields. By the end of this video, we have a nice little website coded up where we can make a request to the TikTok API and get a list of videos back. And if there are more videos, we're gonna add a little show more button, and when the user clicks on that show more button, it will load up the next 10 videos from that user's profile. And you can keep clicking show more until the user doesn't have any more videos. What's required for this video? We need a TikTok app that's live in production. We need that TikTok app to also have the video.list scope approved. And then we need a user access token with that scope included. Once we have those things, we can make calls to the video's endpoint. As always, links will be in the description below to things like the front end, the little website that we're coding up here, the TikTok API PHP SDK. With that, I will see you on the computer. What is up everyone, and welcome to the video. In this video, we're gonna get a user's video post with the TikTok API. Now, before we get into any code, we have to make sure our app is set up correctly. Over at developers.tiktok.com, you're gonna find your app, and the first thing you have to do is make sure that it is live in production. The other thing you have to make sure is that over here on the left-hand side, if we click on scopes, you have to make sure that the video.list scope right here is approved by TikTok. If it's not approved, you are going to have to click edit scopes, find the video list scope here, and toggle it on. That will put your app into staging, and TikTok will then have to go ahead and review your app before it will be live again. Hopefully they come back and approve it, and then you'll be good to go. With our video list scope approved by TikTok and our app status live in production, we are ready to go ahead and get an access token with that new scope. If you guys missed the video where we went over how to get an access token for our user, you can head over to the GitHub repository, TikTok API PHP SDK, head over to the wiki tab and click on access tokens. And under access tokens, you'll see the YouTube tutorial link right here. Go ahead, click on that and watch it so you can understand how to get a user access token. But basically what we did was we copied this code here, the little snippet, and when I requested my access token in that video, I only requested the user.info scopes, which will allow us to get the user's profile information. So that access token will not work if I'm hitting the videos endpoint because I did not request the video.list scope when that video was made because it wasn't approved. So over in my blog code, which is also in our repository, my blog code repository, you'll see here is where my scopes were defined. So like I said, we only did the user.info scopes. What we need to do is we need to add on the videos.list scope. Just like that. Now when we request an access token from a user, they will get a little pop-up saying, hey, this app is requesting to access your videos as well as your user information. Now if we load up our index.php file that we went over in our access tokens video, click continue with TikTok, we've added that scope, so it'll take us to TikTok and it's going to ask us if I want to authorize my Justin Stolpe TikTok account with the Bubbles Dev app. And you see here we have the profile info, the additional profile information, profile engagement stats, like count, follow count, and then read your public videos on TikTok. And this is the video.list scope right here. Originally we had our three user.info scopes, and now we have our fourth scope, which is video.list. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. and we've been redirected to our login.php file where we have exchanged our code and we have gotten an access token through the TikTok API PHP SDK. Scrolling down here, you'll see in the user access token response text area, we got our access token, and you can see the access token scope, the videos list here. That's what we added on for this video. So you're going to copy the access token here, and back in our blog code repository, the TikTok API folder, we have our defines file. And this defines file is where we store our user access token. So you're going to paste the user access token right here. I'm going to do this off screen, save it, and then close the defines file. Now we have our access token that includes that video.list scope, and so we're ready to hit the videos endpoint on TikTok. All right, so over in our blog code folder, TikTok API folder, we're going to create a video_list.php file right here, and then we're going to open that up. And just like our index.php file, we need to first of all require a defines.php, so we have access to that access token we just defined. Then the next thing we need to require is our TikTok PHP SDK, which in the user info video, we went over how to either use Composer to install that, or if you don't use Composer, you can just check out the TikTok API repository right here into the TikTok API folder in blog code, and then you would just require it here with this require instead of our Composer require. So it's in the TikTok API PHP SDK, source TikTok autoload, and that takes care of doing the autoload if you do not want to use Composer. I decided to go the Composer route, so all I have to do is require vendor/autoload.php, and that will load up the SDK for me. Now, since there are updates to the SDK, I have to do a Composer update in my blog code TikTok API repository, and we should get the newest changes, the version 1.0.3, which are the changes that allow us to get the users of videos. So we have our defines, we have the autoloader loading up the SDK for us. Now all it's left to do is go over to the wiki and copy the snippet that allows us to get the users videos. Back to GitHub, jstolpe/TikTok API PHP SDK, the wiki. Under endpoints, we're going to click on list videos, and here we will see a snippet for us to use for getting the user's video list. I'm going to copy this whole snippet. We're going to go ahead and paste that right here after our requires. All right, so let's look at this line by line and see what's happening. These three lines right here are use statements, are using the classes needed for this endpoint, videos, params, and fields. The first array we need to set up is the config array. In the config, we have to pass along an access token. That's the one we just generated with the new video.list scope. If we open up our defines file, here's our access token where you pasted your access token, and here's the define. So we're going to take that define and we're going to replace it right here. Now our config is all set up with the access token. Next, we create the new video class with the config. Once that is set up, we can go ahead and specify some parameters. Now, you don't have to pass these parameters in. If you don't pass it in, it will just return the default, which I think is 20 videos per request, but you can specify a max count. Let's just do 10 here. Next is the fields array. These are the fields that you want to get back for each video. I specified, I think, all of them here. ID, create time, title, and so on. And then we make the call to the API right down here. Video list equals video on our video class we instantiated up here. And we call the getList function. And we pass in the params and then our fields. And I'm going to comment this out for right now, this if statement. And we're just going to do an echo. And we're going to print out our video list, because I think we're at a good point right now where we can actually check out and see if this is working. So over in a new tab, I'm going to hit our video_list.php file and look at that. It looks like we're getting back videos for the user. All of the fields we're requesting are right here in the videos array for each video. So there's the first video, my most recent video, and then we proceeded to get back 10 more videos. Now, if you want to customize the requests, you don't have to get back everything. For example, if you don't pass in the fields or the parameters, you will get back the default response from TikTok. Otherwise, you can customize these. Let's say we want to just get back 5, but we only want to get back the ID and the title. So we could comment out these fields here, save that. Now if we refresh our page, you'll see that each video only returned the specific fields that we requested, the title and the ID. The next thing we're going to look at is this cursor right here, cursor next. If this exists, that means that you can do another call to get the next page of videos. These are my most recent 5 videos. Let's go ahead and put all the fields back, and we're going to uncomment this if statement here. So if cursor next exists, means TikTok is telling us that there's more videos we can request. How do we do that? Well, with the SDK, you just have to add on this cursor parameter right here with the cursor next that was returned from TikTok. When you add that onto the parameters, you just do another video get list with the new parameters, because now you have a new cursor saying, hey, give me the next page. And then we can do another print statement right here. Add on a little next header there, and let's refresh our page. Scrolling down to the 5th video here, this is actually index 4. Here is my video on project managers every morning, and that is going to end that call right there because we did a max limit of 5. You'll see that that first request we got back a next cursor, and this is what we appended on to our parameters right here. Parameters cursor, and we added on the videos list cursor next. Scrolling down further, you see our little next title right here, and we use the next cursor, so now we should be continuing on to get the next 5 videos from my TikTok account after the previous 5 that were originally requested. Starting with the chat GPT, gonna replace me. Again, we got 5 videos back, and we have another cursor here from this request as well. As long as you have a next cursor, you can keep querying the get list. You just have to keep updating the parameter cursor with the newest cursor. I'm just gonna head over to my TikTok profile to verify what we're seeing. It's always good to verify, right? So here's my most recent video, the side projects one. We got back 5 videos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one ended with the project managers. And then our next request, we got back the next 5, which started with the chat GPT and went all the way to the lost video. So that is how you get a user's video list with the TikTok API PHP SDK. Now, before we move on to the next endpoint, video query, let's just look at the developer documentation, give you guys a little better understanding of what is going on in the background. You don't really have to worry about any of this because the SDK is taking care of all this for you, but it's kind of good to know exactly what's happening. Here's the list videos overview. The endpoint right here, video/list, post method, and you'll see right here the requirements is the video.list, which we went over how to get that approved, get an access token, and then use the access token with the request. Then we have the request, the headers, the authorization, the token. SDK takes care of all this for you as long as you specify it in the config array. Here's the body cursor like we talked about. When you get a response back, if the cursor has more, it means that you pass the response.cursor along with the next request, like we went over adding that cursor onto the params array for the next page. Then here's our max count, maximum number of videos that will be returned for each page. Default is 10, but the max is 20. So you can specify that. If you don't, it will default to 10. Then they have an example response, the list of videos for the page and all the fields you requested, the cursor, and then whether or not there is more videos. And that's the list videos endpoint. Now we're going to move on to the query videos endpoint. Very similar, it's going to return you a list of videos, but this is a specific endpoint where you can pass along specific video IDs. So if you have a list of video IDs, maybe you don't want to display just the next 10. Maybe you have a specific 5 videos that you want to display on your website. Well, you get those IDs, pass those IDs along to this endpoint, and then you will get the info for those 5 specific videos. Here in the documentation, our endpoint is video/query. A post method, we also need the video list scope. Headers are the same, query parameters. We are again going to specify the fields we want back for each video. And then the body, here's where we specify the filters, which are the video IDs we want to get back. So from our videos list, we're going to just copy a few video IDs out of there and use them as our filter. Back in our blog code TikTok API folder, we're going to create a new PHP file. We're going to call this video_query. Open that up, and then we can head back to our video list.php file, and we can copy our requires because they're going to be the exact same. Then we're going to head back to GitHub, the wiki, and we're going to look at the query videos endpoint. We're going to go ahead and copy this code snippet here. And we're going to paste that right under our requires. This is a very similar endpoint. We have the same use statements up here. Our config array will be the same, passing along our access token again. Copy that over. Again, creating a new video class here. And here is where we have our TikTok video IDs. So from our original list over here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get some IDs. Let's get back the first video ID, which is starting another side project. We're gonna paste that ID right there like that. And let's grab onto Steal My Weekend, copy that ID, paste that right there. And let's get another ID. Let's go to the next page and let's do what our programmer is made of. Copy that ID, paste it right there. And we'll just do 3 IDs. I think the most you can do for each request is 20. Fields act exactly the same. You can request as many or as little as you want. And if you don't pass them in down here to the video query function, the SDK will automatically return all the fields for you. All right, so let's query our videos, print out our video query, and let's hop over to our browser, open a new tab, and do video_query. Run that. And then now we should get back a response, but it should only contain the video IDs that we requested. So the first one we requested was our starting a new side project. Then it was Steal My Weekend, and then it was what our developer is made of. And that's the end of the response. So the query endpoint is for if you want to request video info on specific IDs. The video list is if you just want to get a list of all the users' videos from their TikTok profile. The final part of the video is we're going to create a nice little website where we can actually keep requesting more videos. Like the intro showed you, we're going to have a little web page where we display all the videos on cards, and then you can click show more. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder in here called video. And then in this video folder, I'm going to create a list show more. So this is going to be the PHP file that we call every time we click the show more button to get more videos and then display them out to the user. I'm also going to create the list.php, which is basically the index page. So over in our editor, we're going to open up both these files, and let's start over on our list.php file. And I'm going to copy over a bunch of styles here. This isn't really a tutorial on how to style things up, so I'm just going to let you guys go over that on your own when you check out the blog code repository. And after our styles, we need a script tag, because every time these are clicks show more, we need to go out and get the videos from our .php script here, list show more. And our body is just going to contain a few divs. This div right here, the show more container, is where our script will place all of our contents. And then our show more button is the show more button. You click it, the script runs, the show more container gets populated with more videos. Now the first thing we want to store is a variable for our cursor. And on page load, there isn't going to be a cursor because it's going to be the first page. And then as we click show more, we will update this cursor variable with the newest cursor. So that way, each request will be adding on a cursor, so we'll get the next page. Then we're going to create our add event listener to the DOM content loaded, which is when the document's ready. Then we want to add an event listener to our show more button, and we're going to listen for our click event. And here's where we will want to show more. So let's create a show more function. Now for our show more function, we need to make an AJAX call to our list show more.php file. So we have to create a new XML HTTP request. Then we have to tell that new request with an open function what script we want to run. We want it to be a GET request. We want it to run our list show more.php file. And then we want to send that request. And we're going to pass our cursor that we defined up here along to our .php file as a GET variable. Cursor equals plus cursor, just like that. Now the script knows what cursor to use when we're making the request. All right, so the only thing left to do in here is do the onload function. And this onload function is what's going to run after our script has ran and it's given us a response back. So let's capture our response here in our response variable. And to do that, we're going to JSON parse our response text. And here is where we want to store our cursor and update it. So we're going to say cursor equals response.cursor. Because in our list.showmore.php, we're going to be returning the cursor. And the last thing we want to do for the onload is in our showmore container down here, we're going to populate it with our response.html. In our list showmore PHP, we're going to be returning some HTML, which is going to be appended right to this div right here. And that is our list.php file. Now we have to code up our showmore.php file, which is going to take care of actually populating this page. We're going to head back to our video list file, and we're going to copy over our requires. And since we are a folder deeper, we have to go .. and .. Do a .. here as well if you were not using Composer. Then after we required everything, it's basically the same as the video list.php file we set up. So let's copy over our use statements. The config is going to be the same. And then we're going to instantiate the new video class the same way as well with our access token. Then we have our params array. Copy that over here like that. And let's update this to, say, 10 videos. Then we have our fields and our get list call. So we're requesting all these fields for each video with a max count of 10. Now in our list show more, we have to make sure that we're accounting for our cursor as well. So under our params here, we're going to check to see if we have a cursor in the get request. If we do, we're going to add it to our params array right here, just like this. Params cursor equals get cursor. So in the first request, we started it out as an empty string, so it won't get appended. Then, after we make the first request here with the videos list, a cursor will be returned, and we will echo that out here for the response. And our response here is going to be an array. It's JSON encoded. We'll set up the cursor, and we want to return the cursor here if we have a cursor next. Otherwise, we're going to return an empty string. All right, so we're returning our cursor. That will come back to our list right here, and we will set it. Response.cursor. Response here is our entire array, so all we have to do is do response.cursor. Then the most important part is our HTML. So we're going to create our HTML up here after we get our video list by calling ob_start, the output buffer, and we'll do ob_get_clean. This will get everything from the output buffer after we've started it. So here's where we can place our HTML. Begin by looping over all the videos in the video list. So our for each data videos as video, that's each video in the response, and I'm going to copy over all the HTML here for you guys to see. Here's our card. We have a card for each video, and then within that card, we're displaying the data we're getting back from the API. Our cover image URL here, our video title, our video, the view count, the likes count, the comment count, the share count. Then we have a tag down here where it will actually take you to TikTok and you can watch the video on TikTok. And all these styles here are over here in our CSS styles that I pasted up here. So now we have our list show more script heading out to TikTok, getting videos for our request, coming back, and then we do a little OB start here, style up each video card, and then in the end we return a JSON encoded array with the cursor and the HTML. Back here in our list.php, our onload function, that response is right here in our variable response. So we store the cursor coming back from the script, and then in our show more container, we append the response.html, which is whatever we get back from our HTML right here in our list show more.php script. We're just about ready to go ahead and test this out in the browser, but we do want to make sure that we're displaying videos on page load, which right now we are not because our show more is contained only inside of our add event listener click for our show more button. And to do that, we just have to call our show more function again, but this time when the page is set up. Now show more will be called right away. And we do need this to be new. Can't forget about that. Gotta instantiate that correctly. I think we're good. Let's see if this works in the browser. Open up a new tab, hit our videos/list, and we have videos. They've returned. We got 10 videos back, just like we requested. We have all of the data we want for each video, the image, the title, views, likes, comments, shares, and we can click watch on TikTok, and this should take us to TikTok for the video. Perfect. All right, now let's make sure our show more button is working down here. I'm gonna go ahead and click that, and it should load up the next 10 videos for my profile. Look at that, we just keep clicking show more. And they keep loading because we are updating that cursor every time the response comes back and passing it along the next time we click show more. And that's how we use the TikTok API PHP SDK to create a simple website where we display videos and we can keep grabbing onto more videos for the user. That is going to wrap up the video on getting a user's video posts with the TikTok API PHP SDK. We covered a lot in this video. We went over how the app needs to be set up with the correct scopes, getting an access token. We went over the user video list endpoint, the video query endpoint, and then we went over how to set up a nice little website where we can continually display more and more videos for the user. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope this was helpful and that you learned something. Links will be in the description below to things like the blog code repository, which contains this little website here that we built, the TikTok API PHP SDK, which is in a separate repository. Check out the wiki. That gives you the detailed snippets for each endpoint. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see coded up next. I'll catch you later.